line. Bad bitches, every city in my tribe. Look behind. Booty dominate.
Hello,
Good
welcome.
afternoon.
What's your take?
My take is I can choose anyone. I'm new to the format, so it's just
Yep.
any one
Yep, it's like
and
a
then go off
menu.
of that.
Like a menu, and you can
Okay.
choose what you want to do.
So I would argue that pro-choice, the way that we understand it today, I don't go necessarily against the idea of women having the choice to the healthcare. My issue is the systematic that was established for the healthcare that you use now. Margaret Stanger was an open racist and advocated for the extermination of the black race. We see more Planned Parenthoods in the black community than any other community, as well as the largest group of people who are
That's not
aborted
true.
are black kids. It is true. It's statistically, I can bring up the statistics
No,
for you.
that's not true. A majority of Planned Parenthoods are in poor neighborhoods, and they're in white neighborhoods.
Which are largely African American communities, yes or
There
no?
are more in white neighborhoods than in black neighborhoods.
Which states are you referring to then?
Well, you made that blanket statement that they are more in black neighborhoods. When
And
was the
I have
one
facts to
second,
prove it.
one second. When did Planned Parenthood
Okay.
perform their first abortion?
I don't see how that addresses the point I made.
Well, I have a point, I promise.
Well, you're answering a question with a question, and that's not
No,
really a
I'm
debate.
going
I
to
thought
make a
this was a
point.
debate
I'm
format.
I'm going to make a point in
Oh,
to
okay.
address
Oh, okay.
your statement. So when
What
did
is
Planned
considered a
Parenthood
what is considered an abortion to you? So I'm going to ask the question
deliberate
with the question
termination
as
of
well.
pregnancy? Well,
And what do you consider that?
you made the
What
claim. You made the
medical
claim that
procedure?
Margaret. One second. I want to get through this, and
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to prove a point. When was the first abortion that Planned Parenthood performed?
And again, what do you consider abortion? Are we talking about a surgical
By
abortion?
whatever
Are we talking
barometer
about
you do. By whatever barometer you do.
well, I would say Planned Parenthood as a organization, I can't tell you that because again, you haven't defined what you see as an abortion. You asked the question,
I'm
not me.
saying my definition is whatever your definition is. So whatever you think it constitutes an abortion, I'm fine with that.
hmm I'm not really sure because as far as an abortion, again, we haven't defined it. So I'm not sure. Why don't you go ahead and tell me?
Well, so you don't know.
No, I'm saying by your definition, you asked the question. So I'll let you go
So
ahead and
I
take the
would
floor to a
define
point where,
abortion as deliberate termination of pregnancy. So when did Planned Parenthood perform their first abortion?
oh, like I said, go ahead and let me know on this. I would love to hear your
Well,
take on it.
I'm asking you. Do you know?
Well, you said you were going to make a point, and I asked the
I
question
am going to
initially.
make a
And you
point.
sort of,
I am going to make a point.
okay, go ahead.
But
I'm not trying to
do
be
you
difficult.
know?
I'm just trying to
This is a yes
understand.
or no. Do you know when Planned Parenthood performed their first abortion?
Uh, what I understand as abortion, do you want me to look it up or something? Are you talking about whose metric are we talking about? Because there's different metrics. If you go
I
on a religious
I'm
site,
even saying by
it
your
has a different
own
metric.
metric. By your own metric, you can decide. Tell me when they performed their first abortion.
My thing of a deliberate termination of it, you haven't defined it as anything. So if we're coming from a religious standpoint, the religious people would say that once they started telling women to not have sex from a religious, this is a my point. And I'm saying there could be many additions. That in itself is a form of deliberate termination of pregnancy because you're stopping women from getting pregnant. Is that not terminating it? That I'm saying this thing, again,
Well,
it
I
could be
I
asking the
disagree that
question
that's
to
the
answer questions.
religious. I disagree that that's the religious definition because in the 19th century, even Catholics thought abortion was morally permissible prior to quickening.
Well, I don't adhere to Catholic traditions. That's one group of
Right,
people.
but
I can
in
show you
terms of
articles such as
Christianity,
Jehovah's Witnesses
I'm not saying that you
claiming
do. I'm
for
just saying in terms of like Christian denominations, that Catholicism, I would say, has
that's
the
one specific
strictest.
one, and Catholic. Uh-huh. That's not true. The witnesses
That Catholics have the most restrict rules when it comes to like pregnancy, birth control. They don't even think women should be taking birth control.
No, Jehovah's
So
Witnesses, not to cut you off, but I have many Jehovah's Witnesses family who are a lot stricter than Catholics. You can't tell
your
they're very
your
Christian, but
mic
it's a
is
very strict
your
religion. They even
audio
have a
is just
beard.
awful.
Oh, okay. Let me move it. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, I was saying I have family who's Jehovah's Witnesses, and Jehovah's Witnesses are so strict you can't even have a beard in their religion. I've seen Catholics with
I
beards.
meant
Jehovah's
regarding
Witnesses,
reproductive
Mormons.
control.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I was just bringing up religion to say it depends on whose perspective you're coming from on when it would be performed. So we have to have a definition on what we define as an abortion. That's why I asked the
I
question.
said it's the
And that's
deliberate
why I said go ahead.
termination of pregnancy.
And what are we defining as a deliberate termination? Because I could also argue that deliberate
What do you
termination
not
could
understand
be
about
the
those
fact.
words?
I understand. I'm just, you said you were making a point, so I said go ahead so that way we can move forward in the conversation.
Okay.
Because I said, as
So,
far as it looks like you're looking for
well, I wanted to make sure that
a
I was
specific
correct.
answer.
So, when did Margaret Sanger die?
Does that have anything to do with her openly being a racist and in multiple publications saying that she was exterminating the black community? Because we
Yes.
haven't addressed that point.
Yes.
Because
Well,
I
it
could
has to
I
do
could
with
look
your
up research.
connection. One second. It has to do with your connection to Planned Planned Parenthood has a racist agenda by
I didn't say
providing
that. I
abortions for
said
Black people.
let me recharacterize my argument because you must have misheard. I said it's founded on racist institutions. We're trying to take down the police department because it's founded upon racist principles. So then why does that not apply equally to Planned Parenthood was my point. Is that people hail it as this great company, but it was founded by a racist. So how are we going to say the Republican Party was founded by racists? The police
Right.
department is
So,
founded by racists. So why is Planned Parenthood not held to
sure.
the same
And I think
standard?
you can, one second, let me respond. I agree that when it comes to the police department, we can obviously see that the system in itself has racial outcomes that are very negative to the Black community and other BIPOC people. Um, when it comes to Planned Parenthood, number one, I think you would need to establish that because I find it interesting that Margaret Sanger died before Planned Parenthood even performed an abortion. So if you're saying that this woman wanted to use the tool of abortion to extend her racist agenda, I don't think that translates to Planned Parenthood's conception and then actually performing abortions that you would say are an effect of her
No,
racist
that's not what I'm
support.
saying at all. You're misunderstanding the characterization that I'm making. I'm saying it was founded by someone who was racist. Did they reestablish the entire thing as we are arguing should be done with the police? Where has there been a Planned Parenthood reform? So maybe it's not coming across clear. I'm not saying Margaret Stanger
So what
herself
if
founded
you
it
could just
and did it.
summarize, if you could just summarize
Okay, maybe
your
that's
why,
making it clear.
because from my understanding, a majority of abortions are performed in private clinics.
Yeah.
Over, I think it's like 53%, so not even at Planned Parenthoods. And then there's more Planned Parenthoods in more white communities. And then
Yeah,
I think too, you would also have to establish that somehow they're forcing Black
I never
people to
said the
get
forcing,
abortions.
but I'm also saying that the agenda, no one said forced. I wasn't saying that. But you got to think that this was not systematically put in
I'm not
place. They
saying
don't
that you're saying
randomly
forced.
choose. And I
You
would argue
have
that they're
to.
not. From the statistics I read, majority of Planned Parenthoods exist in lower income community, who is one of the largest disenfranchised besides whites as the majority holder. So obviously having a larger population, but when you bring it to
Right.
scale, the largest per capita, blacks are in a larger lower income area, which you just said yourself, they are in lower incomes. So by that, we can make the
Right. So again,
assessment.
it's not like, again, I don't think you've substantiated your claim. But I'm not really, here, Sean, I'll let you come up because I think you could. Sean, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you have something to say?
Yeah, but I can wait till he comes back. He's just lying about most of what he says. Either he's lying or he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I just looked it up. I have a DOI study that actually proves what I'm saying. I could give you the number if you want. I just wanted to get my article to prove what I'm talking about. So that way you're not saying that I'm pulling it from my butt. I can actually give you the DOI research article that says there's a disparaged rate in the racial inequality on abortions that are performed. I can give you the number, everything. I'll come with the receipts. So that's what I
I,
do.
I don't disagree with that. I do think that Black women have, I believe, abortions at 5 times the rate of white women.
That's my point. So that's the argument I'm substantiating, that we are the most
Wait,
disenfranchised group as far as a racial, as it stands right now, but yet we have the most
wait.
abortion. My argument is simply that's not accidental.
So are you
Everything else
saying
can.
that black women, are you saying that black women making the choice for their own bodies is discrimination against black people?
My argument would be, do you think that the idea how this was not openly accepted 20, 30 years ago, the change in women's mind, it's not the freedom of laws because Roe v. Wade was passed prior to that. So what's the difference in the rise of weight? So I'm not saying the correlation is exactly from that, but I'm saying, can you explain the correlation besides that? You can say that I'm making a false
Yeah,
equivalent,
you are,
but
because like
yes, but
we
I'm
have
saying that
proof to
you have to
show.
explain the rise. Why is there a
Right, yeah,
rise?
I can. There isn't a rise. That's the issue. Like we have
That's not what the
data to
study
show.
says. I can give you the study.
There's data to show that
I
illegal
can give you the
abortions
study
are
I just
still
read.
performed. Stop talking. Asked me to answer the question. Stop talking. Data shows that illegal abortions are performed at the same rate of legal abortions. Abortion banning does not stop abortions. It just makes
Hmm.
illegal abortions more prevalent. Actually, they happen at higher rates. So you don't know what you're talking about.
But that's not the argument. You just made a completely different point. You
No,
you
yes, it
shift the
is, because what you
goalpost.
said was
My
that the
point was black
legalization
women, not
increases the
abortion.
amount of abortions. You said legalization increases the amount of abortions.
No, I
That's
didn't
not
say that.
true.
I said actually the opposite. I was saying that
Oh my
abortion,
God.
Roe v. Wade was prior, so you cannot say. My point was the culture. How has the culture shifted now, where it has
It
increased it
didn't.
according to the study? I can give it to you.
It
I've read it
didn't.
multiple times. It
Yeah,
did according
you've
to the
read it.
study.
You've read it, but you've read it, like your confirmation bias means nothing to me. We have
No,
data
I've
that
written many
shows.
papers
We
on
have
this.
data that
I'm college
shows.
educated as well. I can give you the study. I'll bring it up
Cool.
right
What's
now
the
if you need.
title of the study?
I will give it to you.
Yeah, and I'll give you studies that show that abortions happen at the same rates even when they're not
Yeah, I
legal.
would love to
So
read
there's
that.
no
I'm
culture
a
there.
type of person where I'm not
What is
closed
the
to an
title?
argument. Yeah, give me a second. Okay, let me look it up and I'll give it to you.
I'll explain how he's lying about Margaret Sanger in a minute as well.
You don't have it ready?
No, I do. I do. I'm going back and forth.
Okay.
So,
What is
I
it?
don't have a computer on me. So it's perceived.
We can't hear you when you leave the app.
Oh, my bad. I said let me give you the exact title. It's
If you
perceiving
want
and
to, if you want to just copy the title and put it in the comments, that's fine.
okay, perfect. I'll do that. Yeah, but let me just make it clear that my argument, so I can summarize it, because I think it kind of got a little heated and I want to keep it calm. But my thing is simply that it's not abortion being bad, but I'm saying the same way we argue that police unjustly target blacks, just the same way we say the government is against black, we cannot say another system is not built on racist. You can't say America is a racist country and then say an institution in America that's funded by the government, the same people who pay this, is now somehow not racist or does not have racist biases. That doesn't make sense. You're basically saying that America as a whole, capitalism, all these things are taking down certain minority communities, but at the same time propping up that same
Did
system,
you put your
saying,
source in the comments?
I didn't put it already. I thought yeah, I just
I'm
put it.
asking if you
It's
did.
already in there. Yeah, I did.
What
You
is,
made the same point like 3 times and it's incorrect, and I'm going to explain how in a minute, but I want to see that source.
I don't see anything. What, can you just read your comment?
Okay. It's perceiving and addressing the perceived racial disparity in abortion.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Give me 1 second. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
Let me
mean,
put my phone
this
on the
study
charger.
just says this study just says what I already agreed with, that Black women have abortions at 4 times the rate of white women. I
Yeah,
don't
and that's
see
my point. My
how
point
access
is,
to abortion for Black women though would be detrimental. Like, wouldn't it be forcing
I
Black?
never said that. I prefaced when I first came on that I actually agree with women's right to choice. I'm not an anti or pro life by any means. So that's why I made it clear in the beginning. My point is that why is it that we see in poor African American communities compared to poor white communities, we still see an uptick in the Black community? And I'm saying we see other racial inequality disparities, such as income, police reform, or policing. All these things are by design. Would you agree with that? As
So
far as the policing and income inequality, would you say that's
yeah,
by
so
design or that's a
I'm just gonna
choice?
say what I have to say and then I'll let Sean go.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
so when we look at I do think there are obviously institutions within America that promote systemic racism. When it comes to Planned Parenthood, people need access to healthcare, and they are providing that access. If we look at historically why abortion bans have occurred, it's been for 2 reasons. It has been to take women out of the economic and political markets so that men can maintain power and still have access to money over women, and that more white babies can be born. Because even though Black women have more abortions at higher rates, there are still more white babies in terms of volume that are aborted. And we can see that in the in the late 1800s, that the most common abortion patient was a white Protestant married woman. So yes, when abortion bans go into place, it is so that more white babies can be born, which I would argue is to again establish ideas of white supremacy.
Yeah, then we definitely, because my thing is exactly that there is a white supremacy as agenda. Not that there is nothing wrong with abortion in itself, but the
But
rate we're seeing it and the racial
abortion
disparities that we're
bans
seeing it is something.
upholds
Okay, yeah,
white supremacy, not access to abortion. Abortion
understand.
bans. Okay. Sean, did you have anything?
Yeah,
Sorry? Like, did you want to say anything before they go?
yeah, I had to use the restroom. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Um, yeah, comparing abortion to policing is mad disingenuous, especially when you see, like when Kenzie pointed out, the outcomes of policing for the Black community tend to be negative, whereas the outcomes for Planned Parenthood for the Black community just tend to be giving the Black community health care. Especially since Planned Parenthood only does about like 3% of abortion healthcare in general. That doesn't include abortions. I mean, that includes abortions, but it's not just abortions. It's like anything that has to do with abortions. So this idea of like, oh, we're just doing it because it was founded on the thing means that you don't do any studying into these issues and you're misrepresenting them. And also, when it comes to even like Margaret Sanger, what you're saying is a right-wing talking point about her. It's not even close to true. This idea of Margaret Sanger being a eugenicist is a complicated history of her doing work within the Black community and white people saying like, oh, she just wants to unalive Black babies. It's really just a talking point at best. She was recognized by prominent Black leaders for doing great work in the Black community, and her focus was Black healthcare in the Black community. It wasn't even abortion. Like Kenzie said, she was unalived before Planned Parenthood ever did their first abortion. You don't know anything about this subject, and I feel like you're just out of your depth and just like saying like dog whistle talking points and virtue signaling, which I think is like terrible to argue.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first off, I'd just like to establish, again, I said it one way, I'm actually pro-abortion. It's nothing against abortion. So to say that it's a right-wing talking point, I don't stand as a right-wing person. I'm a person who looks at both sides. Margaret Sanger actually
Your
had her
comments
own,
about Margaret Sanger were the right-wing
yes, her
talking point.
personally. I
You
understand what
say
you're saying.
that you're in the
Margaret
center.
Sanger actually had her own template. It was a magazine that her and her group produced. And I could bring up the sources for that as well, where it's her own writings where she says the quotes. So it may be a right-wing talking point, but both sides have things correct at times. You can't say someone's always wrong, someone's always right. That in itself is a disingenuous point. So to just say that it's right-wing and paint it as evil, that's saying that everything someone says is wrong all the time by the political ideation,
Yes.
which I would say is a disingenuous argument in itself, as well as I would ask you
But
to
what you're
provide
saying is
sources.
incorrect. So
Uh,
you can say it's disingenuous all you want, but what you're saying is actually incorrect, and it's a right-wing talking point. Just because you say that something is disingenuous and that you can't disregard it simply because it's a right-wing talking point that is used by actual fascists, doesn't make you like this logical centrist. As a matter of fact, centrists are some of the least logical people because you can't pick a position and you just parrot right-wing talking points without knowing that you're parroting right-wing talking points. And when someone calls you out, you get upset and say, well, you're just being disingenuous. You're doing the I'm rubber and you are glue to my argument right now. And I really like for you to make like a real point.
I
And
actually,
you have said a lot of incorrect things.
I understand that, but I could give you the sources to the pamphlet that I was referring to. I can bring sources for everything I'm saying that I've read. And if you'd like to correct me with other sources, because again, I'm not a centrist, I'm a humanist. I look out for the best interest of humans, not one
Yeah, so
political
if you'd like to go to Guttmacher Institute, the claim that most abortion clinics are located in Black or Hispanic neighborhoods are false. There's one for you.
Okay, I'll look into that. Yeah, if you definitely, is there a way that you could post it in the comments, the name? Because that name was a little,
Guttmacher.org. It's essentially gut and mocker. Yeah, like it's one of the leading sources on abortion information. Like if you talk about abortion a lot, you know who Guttmacher is.
Okay, perfect. I'll look into that. But if you want, I can forward you and you can tell me if this is maybe fabricated or not. Like I said, just to say that I'm right wing is not to use disingenuous. That's what I was saying. I was using your own verbiage back at you because you actually moved towards disingenuous as well as right wing. I'm far from right wing.
I just like you have again presented a lot of misinformation, and then the source that you gave me is not a study; it's actually a thought piece. So,
Based on
it's not
actual studies.
it's not good because it even creates a measure of years of potential life loss, like without like I would say really any kind of like scientific.
It's based on scientific
Also
data.
to
They
say,
take it, it's an abstract paper. They take scientific studies that have been done, they compile them together, and they make a thought piece and an opinion based on this information. It's very common.
That's not a tertiary or secondary source.
Understood. But I've been provided, besides you, Kenzie, I appreciate yours, I've been provided by no one else. And I'm saying if there's an argument that we all need to provide sources, besides you, Kenzie,
okay,
you did give me that gushma, I say we should all be held to the same standard in this argument. just to be
Right. So
fair.
Time Magazine has a piece in which they have quotes from prominent leaders in the Black community about Margaret Sanger, especially they talk about letters that Margaret Sanger wrote and was pen pals with, I believe it was Booker T. Washington, and how she was focused on the Black women's health within the Black community because her focus was women's health care. That was the reason why she wanted to do Planned Parenthood. Their number one thing that they provide is health care. So
Can I just ask one question? Does her involvement with the Black community make her less racist? Because Marcus Garvey, who was a Black prominent leader, also worked with the KKK. Does that mean the KKK, by that same argument, is not racist because they worked with Marcus Garvey, a African man who fought for Black rights?
Marcus Garvey didn't regard the KKK for their work within the Black community and point out
He
their work
also
within the
openly
Black
worked with the
community.
KKK. It's
But
well
he
documented.
didn't point out their regards and work that they'd done towards the Black community, though. So this is a disingenuous argument right here. You saying that, oh, well, another person did something with a white supremacist group, and you don't know anything about Marcus Garvey on top of that. I guarantee this. But you saying that, oh, another prominent Black leader did something with a white supremacist group. So does that mean that this person isn't a white supremacist because this other Black person worked with a prominent white supremacist
No,
group?
all I'm trying to do is
It's
say
not that
is
these people worked with Margaret Sanger. They regarded Margaret Sanger for the work that she had done in the Black community in providing healthcare for Black women. It wasn't that they had worked alongside her for the benefit of whatever else. Like they came along afterwards and said, like, yeah, she did some good work for the Black community. And if you read the articles, just like you said you would actually know this. But the fact that you don't want to read the article shows me
I
that
do.
you didn't come
I'm
here
being
with this.
respectful to that. I don't want to do like the little T symbol while we're having a discussion. I believe that would be rude. So my thing is not to read it during a conversation, but read it after to educate myself so I can
Sure,
meditate on it.
but you should be reading it before you make these disingenuous statements. That's
I
all
can't
I'm
read
saying.
something like what
Like,
Kenzie put, I can't read something that I didn't know about. That's kind of weird to state that I should read
but I
something.
just told you about it. I just
Yeah,
told you about
exactly.
it,
You
and
just told
instead
me
of
about it.
reading it, instead of going to go read it, you made a disingenuous statement.
No, I
So
asked you a
maybe don't
question
make the
to say
disingenuous statement.
if someone else's opinion, does that make you something? That doesn't make you an opinion. A person saying that you are or aren't something doesn't make you that. I could call you
Okay.
something right now.
Is there anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm so fucking cute, bitch. I'm so fucking cute.